So welcome everybody to tonight's Standing Orders Review Committee meeting on Monday the 22nd of April 2024 at 6 p.m. We have no apologies for absence because our committee is full, even with just 3 members. Declarations of interest. Does anyone have any declarations? None. Minutes of the Standing Orders Review Committee meeting on the 22nd of January 2024. Can I have a proposer and seconder, please?
It's going to have to be you two because I wasn't here.
I'll second. And a show of hands.
I'll vote for it.
There we go. Thank you very much. Item 5, public participation. Nope, nothing from the public tonight. Item 7, town council policies for consideration.
Six. Environment terms of reference.
Oh,
yeah, sorry.
You are correct. Thank you. Item 6, environment terms of reference for consideration and resolution. Does anyone have any comments on the draft policy as presented? Sharon very kindly tracked the changes for us.
Yeah, nice.
Any comments?
No.
No. So happy to accept as presented.
Do you need a proposal?
Please, Councillor McKinnon, seconded by Councillor Westby, and that is
Yeah,
unanimous, I think.
Unanimous, Sandy, yeah?
Yep. Thank you very much. Next is item 7, town council policies for consideration and resolution. Do we want to take these on bulk? And if anyone's got any comments on any particular policies, raise them.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah, I couldn't see anything that I was
Changes to changes. Clark from
Lots of that, yeah.
lots of that.
Groundsman title was changed,
Changed,
was
yeah.
senior.
And providing Sharon is happy with.
Yeah,
the
I'm
amendments
happy, yeah.
Well, I think the only ones I picked up on that there was like a lot of changes, which again to me just made absolute sense, was the communications policy. There was a few changes in that, but all very straightforward, and I was quite happy with everything that as it was presented.
Yeah.
So if everyone's happy and they've not read through them and gone, oh, you know, I don't like the look of this, can we please have
Again, I've seen nothing.
no?
They're mostly cosmetic changes, aren't
Yes,
they?
yeah.
Yeah, I would say.
Real
Alleged.
policy changes.
No.
So can I have a proposal? Are we going to take them all on bulk then?
Yeah.
1 through 12
Yeah, on block.
on
Yeah.
block.
All
That's the
agreed
one.
on block.
That's
Yeah.
the one on
Yeah,
block, not
on
on
block.
bulk.
Yeah.
Show how
Or
cool
in
I am.
bulk. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Do I have a proposer, please?
Be all right,
Councillor
Andy.
McKinnon,
Take it in turns.
seconded by Councillor Westby, and a show of hands, please.
Yeah, all unanimous.
That
Thank
is
you.
unanimous. Public participation. This has been ticked tonight.
Wow, yeah, that's good. Yeah.
I think we've got a lot of faith in you, Sharon.
Wow, yeah. Well, I hope I can live up to it.
Any comments from the public?
Oh,
We'll give you a minute.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay.
I mean, we can come back to Leslie if she thinks about it, or she can address it in the next public participation in the next committee meeting. But do you want to talk about the while we've got time?
Oh yeah, just while Leslie's taking a moment, I won't move too far forward, but I can do it on this. I can do it on item 10, and we can come back to 9. 2 things that I was going to suggest going forward. I mean, I'm very happy with the terms of reference from the Environment Committee as it was presented, but 2 things that I was going to suggest moving forward with the council was, 1, I think the Environment Committee, when you say environment, I think people expect it to be low carbon emissions, zero waste, very green agenda, whereas actually it used to be the Open Spaces Committee, and I think that actually that would make it very clear to the public what the committee manages is open spaces if it was to be rebranded, if you like, from environment to open spaces. So that was one suggestion I was going to make. The second, this isn't for debate tonight, it's just really to gauge your views. The second was actually that this committee, while I think the work that it's done today is very important, we had a period where we had no town clerk. Then we had a period where we had an amateur town clerk that was new to the role and hadn't had any clerking experience before. We now have a very experienced, very professional town clerk, where I think actually she probably doesn't need as much of our input as has been needed to date. I also feel like, and although I think that this is a very important committee, again, I think it's perceived as the boring committee of the town council. Like, I mean, by our quorum tonight, but I think this is a reflection. Not many people have shown an interest in it. It doesn't get the member input that, you know, some of our other committees get, like the Environment Committee or the events when we had it. And I did wonder whether or not, actually, when we've just reviewed so many policies, if we had a very good schedule of review in place that would say, you know, these are the policies, this is when they're reviewed, this one's done every year, this one's done 3 years, this one's done however many years, and there was a bit of a, you know, a calendar for that work to be completed, whether or not that would then omit some of the need for this committee, because everything that we do is only by recommendation to full council anyway. So we make recommendations, we don't actually necessarily make the decisions. And if there was a calendar that made like light work of it, so the council only had to look at so many so often, if then we could actually look at dissolving this committee if we felt that actually it was maybe not necessarily then needed, because as well, I mean, we've met 2-3 times this year, like I don't twice. There's not a huge demand. And I looked at the environment agenda for tonight, and obviously both of you sit on that as well. And I thought some of the things that are on there, while I'm happy for them to be delegated to the Environment Committee at the moment, I thought, you know, all of the updates and changes that have been scheduled for the town hall, looking at a new kitchen, looking at carpets, curtains, accessibility, disabled access, all of these, like, actually would like a GP&F committee that's like general purposes and give Sharon a little bit more scope where to put things that might not be open spaces, but you don't want to clutter a full council agenda with. Could we get rid of this and replace it with something that just gives it a little bit more freedom? And also, so that's just something that I wanted to put forward.
Yeah, I get you saying that, because General Purpose and Finance Committee, I've always wondered why there was never a Finance Committee here, but
So
We always used to have.
we did.
Yeah.
So when I first joined the council 8 years ago, we had our committee structure was full council, and then we had environment or open spaces as it was then, GP&F, personnel, and planning and highways.
Yeah.
We've recently started planning highways again, and that did always mean the first and third Monday of the month. We always had full council the first Monday of the month. And then there was environment that was the third. And I can't remember when GP&F met, if I'm honest, because I never sat on that committee.
Yeah.
But we did have a GP&F, and we did have personnel, and then we had the neighbourhood plan. And when Tony Crouch came into chairmanship, all of, Andy, you might remember this, all of the other committees were dissolved, weren't they? You keep everything, I think, under control. And there was a bit of pushback because they even wanted to do away with the neighbourhood plan committee, which at the time was quite important. And there was some pushback on that, and personnel for obvious reasons, you know, because those things are sensitive. But all of the other committees, planning highways, open spaces, and GP&F were all dissolved. And I just think that actually,
you're thinking the time is right to sort of like rejig things.
I think so. I think, to be fair, whatever happens next month at the annual general meeting, I just think it's a fresh year, it's a fresh term, and it's a good time to think about the structure of the council and our committee structure. And I think it would be silly to go into the annual general meeting where we're looking at, you know, our committees, who's going to be appointed to them, without thinking about actually what committees do we want. And so it's food for thought. We don't have to make a decision tonight.
No. The only thing I'm going to say is the standing orders is what underpin everything. Yes, they're boring, but yes, they do need to be read through. They do need to be improved.
Because you just spoke to me for the first time about that this afternoon, didn't you? But my only comment was, if you did do that and you replaced the SORC with general purposes and finance, you could still have a little working group that could meet at any time to work on the policies,
But
whenever they're needed, when they're up for review. And then they could
committee.
make recommendations, because they can still have their own terms of reference. You know, it can all be quite structured, but not to the point of a committee where you have to have it all in public. Then they could work on the policies and then put them to full council when they're ready, recommend that this is what we think, a few changes, then the full council can agree them. So you don't then have to have a committee structure. And
No,
that's that.
I think it's got merits anyway,
Yeah.
but I just think it's important that these are dealt with.
Yeah. Oh, they would
As an
be.
important document,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
just as a boring
Yeah,
document.
but
Yeah.
no, I don't think it's boring. Don't get me
Well,
wrong.
they're
Really,
great for me. They give me
I-
direction.
I just feel like that is the perception of a lot of members. Like when we get given like our standing orders to review, how many just skim through it, or how many actually read it, take it in, think
Yeah.
about what is written. And I just feel like the fact that we always seem to kind of struggle to find committee members for this committee, and that obviously there is only now 3 of it.
The ones who like boring matters.
I think it's important, an important committee though. I take on board what you're saying, but I think it's an important committee. Even if it only meets once a year, just to scrutinise.
But then in that case, it could be an ad hoc committee.
Okay.
So it could meet, especially not even perhaps on a Monday, but whenever it's needed.
Once a year,
Yeah.
just to tick things over. And is there, if there's a need,
Yeah.
if there's a need to call a special meeting,
Yeah.
if something happens,
Yeah. Run about.
you
this
know,
time.
I've got a clue what.
Yeah, I take that on board.
Yeah.
Maybe even in the format of a working party rather than a committee where we actually all sat down with all the things and discussed them
Possibly.
together.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Possibly. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that probably take
It,
half an
a
hour.
working group, a small working group always works best though. Yeah. But also, I find, obviously with regard to the policies and everything, once you've done with them, they are working documents mainly for us because the staff and we have to work
your
to them,
points,
don't they? You do have to work to them as well, but it's only when you are working to them and you test them that something comes up, and I have to make sure I make a note of, I must make sure I incorporate that in the next policy, or we could do with a new policy, whatever, which we have discussed today. There's a few policies that we can think of that need
To take your
implementing.
point about let's review the committees,
Yeah.
not just follow verbatim what's gone on
Yeah.
before. Let's
Yeah.
see what's good for
Yeah.
purpose.
I just think
The general
some
purpose
things,
was
I
to-
think
Yeah.
I just think there's certain things that kind of fall between the two. Like
Yeah.
you don't want to put it on the full council agenda because also then you've got to wait a whole month for that to come back
True.
around,
Yeah.
or because you don't want to clutter up that agenda because those meetings can be long anyway. But also it might not just reach the criteria for open spaces. And I think the town hall and the accessibility is one of those that, okay, it's fine that it's been on environment, but actually would it be better suited elsewhere? Like, I'm not sure. Like, I just thought
Yeah.
it probably isn't a bad idea. We're quite ambitious at the moment, I think,
Yeah.
with obviously what we're trying to achieve and drive forward as a council. And I think that would give Sharon some flexibility to think, well, it's not
Yeah.
quite open spaces, but I don't want to wait for full council. I'll put it on GPNF
Yeah.
or
And this is the best time of year to be thinking that, because if you have these sort of interim discussions, then when you get to the full council meeting, the important one, the annual meeting on the 13th of May, all of the reshuffle can be done and dusted there.
But yeah,
So,
I just didn't want to
Otherwise
wait
you'll miss
until
the
that
boat.
meeting and then ambush people with, I've had a bright idea.
Mm.
I wanted to speak to Sharon about it first and just see if administratively, because also we don't want 100 committees that then they've got to come and take minutes
Well,
for
it's
and
also for
publish. And,
your sake as well.
for everyone's sake. It won't, do you know what I mean? You don't want to overload anyone.
No.
But I did think, well, maybe if we lost one committee and replaced it with another, it would be kind of like a substitute. But I take on board Andy's comments about scrutiny, and I think that's very important. And I think actually there'd be a few like-minded councillors that would say the same. But I wonder if we could still apply that scrutiny, but as a working party,
Yeah.
with less formality,
Yeah.
but with the same goal.
Yeah.
But that's just
Yeah.
What I think is, sorry, forgive me.
Yeah.
What I think is important is that time is given to reviewing these at least once a year,
Yeah.
but reviewing them fully, not a cursory glance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also,
yes.
because like I say, I think a lot of councillors, when they've got a meeting pack that's 100 million pages long, and they'll flick through it and think, yeah, okay. I think to have a few extra pairs of eyes that do look at it in more detail, to then say, well, actually, our officers have reviewed it, our members have reviewed it, and now a recommendation is being made to the wider council. I think that'd be a good idea. But like I say, I'm just muting that tonight. It's just,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean?
It's air it,
Food
yeah.
report, so.
Yeah.
But if we say we've wrote that off as item, I think it was item 10,
Yeah.
we'll move back to item 9. and I hope you haven't
That
lost
just
it.
sort of answered my question.
Okay.
really, Because you're talking about the committees, and I was going to ask about, I've forgotten about the next month's meeting-ish. That all the committees would probably change next month, because I was going to ask where we access to find who's on what committee on the website, but with a new website coming up and everything else, I thought it's all going to be
Yeah.
sort of reintegrated in there, wouldn't it? So.
Well, what I normally do is with an annual meeting, I prepare what we've got so far as a draft. And then I just demonstrate on there like a list of vacancies where you've got a vacancy.
I was sort of thinking where,
Yeah.
you know, as a member of the public, if I wanted to speak to a specific, about a specific
Yeah.
group, say planning,
Yeah.
I could look at
Yeah.
the planning committee and say,
Yeah.
I need to speak to.
Yeah.
X, Y,
Well,
and
well,
Z.
that's what I was leading to that because when you prepare that list also goes on the website.
Yeah.
That's on the minutes.
Yeah, it is
The
also on the
committee
minutes
members,
as well.
yeah.
You can look at the minutes back. But if you
Yeah,
want to look
that's
at,
fine, which minutes it's
you know,
on.
you can have like a summary list of all those on committee, all those on full council, all those on committee,
Yeah.
working parties, and then anybody nominated to outside bodies,
Yeah,
and then subgroups as
Yeah.
well.
And then with the new website, it's.
Yeah, and then
completely
it's all on one
different.
page. Yeah.
Councillor
Thank you.
Nicken?
Yeah, what I was going to say is, where we have our bio on the thing, why can we not add to that which committees that councillor
Yeah.
is on? Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
Well, I think even maybe before the
Oh,
bio,
yeah.
so councillor,
Yeah.
whoever they are, what committees they sit on,
Yeah.
and then their bio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we could add it into there.
Yeah,
That would
Cross
give
referencing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
access to.
yeah, so
Yeah.
like how you'd go on the councillors at the moment, and
Yeah.
it just says,
Yeah.
you know, the ward and then the councillor.
Yeah. We need to go a bit further. Yeah.
I've never looked at, I've looked at the councillors, but I've never seen anything about bio.
We
Is that- That's on the new one, is it?
That will be
Yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah.
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 If I
that
can get
is-
all the.
I need a photo.
Yeah. I thought if I don't get the photos in, I'll bring the screen and I'll just make them stand there and I'll take a picture.
That's
there
what they
and
do at
then.
Breckland.
Do they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like on the screen.
Big screens, Sharon, and then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We could have a nice sort of funny background, couldn't we? Animated or something. Yeah.
Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do induction photos there.
Yeah.
So I feel like
Yeah.
it'd be the same principle.
Yeah.
But,
Good.
okay, so on that, that's covered off item 9. Was that everything, Leslie? Yeah. Item 10, we've already done. Item 11, to be confirmed if applicable.
Yeah.
Should we
That's
say?
it. Yeah. Yeah. To be confirmed because it might not happen. Yeah.
There we go.
Thank you.
And on that, I'll close the meeting. Thank you very much. I'll see you in 40 minutes from Brian.
Yeah.